When you've been working in Bubble for a while, you're probably going to ask yourself, okay, I have this skill set. How much can I really make if I wanted to do some freelancing or agency work? So, in this last live stream, I took an honest look at the sparse information that's available online and then compared them to my experiences doing Bubble freelance work.
Like I haven't had a job. I haven't had a regular job since middle of 2019. So there is something of a career path to this, and a lot of people are probably wondering, like, well, how much money can you really make doing this?
So the first place that we looked at was the Bubble coaching page to get an idea of what the higher end Bubble experts are charging. Now, it's important to remember that an hourly coaching rate is probably not going to be the same as do it for you development work, but it does give us a starting point.
It seems like the average is $100 an hour for everybody, right? This dude, no code minute, charges 110. Yeah, so I think between like 100 and $125 is what people are charging US. As a new bubbler, not only would you not make that kind of money, though, you would likely struggle to find work because there's a lot of experienced folks out there now. Let's talk about experience, like Bubble experience. First off, there really isn't any way to measure how much experience somebody has. There's no definition of a Bubble expert yet, right? That thing hasn't come. Bubble is notoriously non-committal when it comes to a certification. The reason I'm saying this is because, like, if you're thinking of like, oh, I'm entry level, I should only charge $10 an hour for my Bubble skills. That's kind of hard because I don't know that you're like, in what context are you going to be able to develop those skills if you're charging so little, right? Like if you're relying on this as an income, you have to charge something that you can live on. I don't ever think of how much I would make in a day. I've never tried to figure that out. I more look at it like a monthly amount. So the most that I've ever made as a freelancer in 1 month was 15,000 US. That's, it was just me at the time. I was the only person in, Payhouse in the company. I was all by myself. And that's good money. That's good money even if you're working, like I'm in New York City, which is one of the more expensive areas of the US. And that's still pretty good. Like you can live pretty comfortably on an income like that. Like when you actually get someone to pay you for a product or a service that you're offering for the first time, that's extremely rewarding. That is like something you just don't think, because you just think that, oh, paychecks can only come from an employer, right? Like, no, there's a whole world out there that will pay you money if you're good enough at something or you care enough to do a good job, I would say, because a lot of the stuff you learn, even with regular jobs, you learn on the job. Part of it is also the question of how much money can you make is very heavily tied to how you structure your work, how what you commit to, and how much you're charging. Are you charging by the hour? Are you charging by the project? Are you charging by the feature? Ideally, that would be great if you could just charge by the feature. But a lot of these things, on average, I would say, when I was freelancing full time, I'm not really doing that anymore. I've tried to work out sources of income that are a little bit more passive than that. But when I was probably making between like 5 and 10,000 per month. I'm constantly reminding people that you are, what you're doing. It feels so self-congratulatory or self-promotional, which is exhausting, right? I don't like doing that. I'm not the type of person that like gets up and wants to be like, hey, look at me. But you have to. You kind of have to. You're part of your sales process, especially if you're freelancing. You are your sales process. You have to find your funnel and your clients, where they pay attention. Even tweets and just posts on LinkedIn is promotional because you're just letting the world know who you are and what you do. And you will get people reaching out for that, even just passive. People will say, hey, I saw you posted something on Bubble. Can you have about Bubble or about building apps? I have this app idea that I'm trying to sort out. You want to just have a quick conversation? I always take those calls. I always take those calls because you never know what that's going to turn into. So how many leads you get and how many projects you take on at the same time and how you just generally engage with your client is going to change, right? There are some projects where it's going to be a long-term thing. They're going to want to keep working with you. They're going to want to keep having more and more features, especially if they trust you. If they trust you and like working with you, there's always going to be another feature to build, right? So you have to be kind of open to charging them in a way that is, within their budget and makes sense for you so that you can keep going, right? You have to charge enough money for you to sustain yourself. There's going to be other projects where they just want one thing done, right? I've had those, right? You charge a flat rate, $2,500. It's usually what I charge for the, like just a one-off major feature or whatever. And that's it. Once you're done with it, they're gone, so if that's the majority of the clients that you're engaging with, you're going to constantly need to be getting more and more leads to replace that income, right? And some people work that way. But you got to be mindful about, all right, what's the next lead that's coming in?
So to sum this up, there really isn't any limit to how much you can make as a Bubble developer. Bubble developer wasn't even a term until like a year ago. So it's still very much being defined as a career path. But there's only going to be more opportunities as Bubble becomes more accepted as a viable way to build software and applications. So it's a really good time to start getting interested in this platform. If this information was helpful to you, like and subscribe to the channel. If you're a founder with an app idea, interested in building software, or just looking to get into freelancing, join the live stream every weekday at 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. I was an HR professional with no technical background before I found Bubble, and now all of my income comes from Bubble-related projects. So I hope to hear from you.